Welcome to the Welsh Yogi podcast. Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namah.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to the Welsh Yogi podcast. My name is Imogen, and I'm here with Amrita-radha and Pali-gopi today. It's the girls' takeover, and we're going to start with a little invocation.
Om Agyantimirandasya Gyanajana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaurabhata Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Okay. So, we've never done this before. We actually have no idea what we're doing or what we're saying.
Pali does, she's done it before.
I've done it once.
Yeah.
It's
we're going to
really
tell Pali
hard
to behave.
It's really hard to do a podcast. I tell you, that's quite an unnatural thing. Just to speak and hope you don't say anything silly, for one. And two, you can't muck it up. It's a lot of pressure.
There's no pressure. We're just going to speak. We're just going to chat. It's all good.
It's going to be so fun.
There's a theme going on in my life right now where people are constantly having to coach me through things. I'm supposed to be in a position where I'm helping others.
Let's dive right in there.
I guess this is the therapy session, guys. We're just gonna do Pali-gopi therapy now. Tell us about your life.
So anyway, Pali's going to start with the introduction kind of thing on what we're going to be doing. So over to you, Pali. Gopi.
Okay, so
Mataji.
we're in Govinda's right now. It's almost time for Nityananda Chodashi Festival. So the girls picked out Wise Love earlier, which is a beautiful little book from Pranada Comtois.
No.
Comtois.
It's all right, we're learning here.
Pranada Comtois. And I think we just start everything off with that.
Yeah, we thought since
just
it was
to set the tone.
Yeah, since it's the girls' takeover, we thought Pranada talks a lot about the divine feminine and our relationship to Radharani and how to actually reach real love, because we actually have no idea what real love is in the material world. So,
and I'm looking forward to someone explaining to me what wise love means.
Well, I guess we'll read the book. Because
Imogen is an expert.
I'm not an expert. I just really
it was one of your favourite books. Tell us a little bit about your relationship with Wise Love, because you said it was a book that really significantly.
Yeah, I mean, kind of when I came to Krishna consciousness young. I was about 18, and being an 18-year-old girl in the West, you're quite an intense feminist. I was I think all of the ladies can testify, I had a buzz cut. I was a proper feminist, environmentalist, activist kind of girl. Mm-hmm. And so Krishna consciousness, although amazing, it was hard for me to stomach. I'm not shastrically very aligned. I'm not very good at studying. So this book was amazing. She really, really makes Krishna consciousness understandable in a beautiful way, and especially for women.
From an angle that resonated with you.
Yeah, I think it's just because she explains it from a feminine point of view. I think it was just really, it was, because for me, I found it, reading the books was quite overwhelming, as wonderful as they were very early on. Bhagavad Gita was quite hard, the Bhagavatam. So these kind of books are really amazing as an introductory
supplementary gateways.
Yeah, as a mood setter, and for me, this really set the mood as to what I wanted my relationship with Krishna and Radharani to be like a soft, romantic, compassionate relationship, rather than a kind of a relationship, instead of a hard I have to be doing this, and this is full of love and like teaching
It
me
made
what
it really
love
personal
was.
for you, probably. Yeah.
Kind of makes no sense, but I think once we read it, people will kind of start to understand a little
No,
bit.
it's nice. It's nice because you're not a very dogmatic person. So it's nice. Yeah, I get you.
Can you read that? Okay, do you need to, like...
Where's I?
I can read it. It's all good. It's a bit dark in here. Pali-gopi is the queen of aesthetic, so she turned the main light off and put some little orange light on in the corner of the room. I can see it. Okay. So this is the introduction. I'm just going to read a couple of paragraphs. Okay. Wise love refers to the heart's development from ordinary love to a love so pure it has no scent of material influence. In its most mature stage, wise love is a state of being, an existential, eternal state of self. The love we know in this world is only a shadow of wise love. Most of us don't know yet love with wise love. Don't yet love every sentient being unconditionally with no thought of our own gain. We don't yet swoon with rapture for our divine other or for other souls, and we're not engulfed in profoundly fulfilling love relationships with them. The ecstatic state of wise love is, nonetheless, our fullest potential, our most complete joy, and our deepest calling. This ecstasy is within reach through the conscious culture of wise love. Since the rise of psychoanalysis, at the dawn of the 20th century, the Western world, in search of enduring happiness, has turned its attention towards mental health, studying control of the mind, meditation, and the psychic benefits of affirmations and positive visualizations, among other mental exercises. We have access to extensive information on self-help and a collection of well-developed protocols for achieving mental health. We have long focused on the mind-body instead of the heart as the channel to spirit. In the Heart Math Solution, Doc Childry shares his experience of counselling serious spiritual practitioners who have focused their spiritual attempts on the mind. Even long-time meditators get only limited benefits unless the heart is deeply engaged, so they're often frustrated with their progress. Why? Because we need to enrich mindfulness with heartfulness. We must come to live our meditation minute to minute. In the yoga world, this practice is called Bhakti. Bhakti's divine doctrine of love, grounded firmly in philosophy, shows how to practically culture the pure state of the self. The practice is backed by an elaborate textual tradition and sages, saints, seers, and mystics. Bhakti teaches us that joy comes from the awakened heart.
The awkward heart.
Awkward heart. The awakened heart. Not from a controlled and stilled mind. Happiness lies in loving, not in knowing or mindfulness or any sort of mental peace that is the goal of most meditation and all of psychoanalysis. By the practice of Bhakti, the heart expands with love and the mind with awareness of the self, and gradually we move from simple human love to an all-encompassing, otherworldly, wise love. So yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you for reading that.
It's okay. It's she goes a lot more into what the self is, and like mantra meditation and the power of sound and the divine mother and Radharani and just divine feminine in general. So yeah, I recommend that book to anyone who is starting their any time in their Bhakti journey, but like just kind of wants to get like a really beautiful analysis of Bhakti and love in general, like what love actually is.
Yeah.
Especially after there's been so much damage done to the kind of woman's psyche in general in society. So, a large part of, building ourselves up in Bhakti is actually just coming into the comfortability of like, just, this is the body we've been given and we need to roll with that and develop a harmonious relationship with, body, mind, and then, that sets you up nicely for, actually traversing further healthily, do you know what I mean? Not like diving in with all you've got and getting chewed up and spat out. Like a nice, meaningful, slow, deep, with realizations that kind of carry you through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have any thoughts on that, Amrita?
No, I really liked. I really liked what you said. It's kind of, we have to kind of accept like the body that we've been given and just accept that this is, accept that this is part of our like human experience is like seeing what's God given in our life, what's in our what's been brought into our energy field for us to like learn and grow. And okay, Krishna's given me this body, Krishna's given me this experience, Krishna's like put me in this place where I can live, and how can I use it in his service, rather than it being a case of like, oh, you know, how do I, you know, get how do I like lead, how do I change my situation, and how do I try and like change my how people see me. Like, okay, if we just see something as, okay, this is what this is the bag of karma I've got, this is what Krishna's blessed me with in many ways, and how can I use that for Krishna's service. I think that's what I feel to be understanding, like how to accept the body we are in. And I
think it's a nice point in that we kind of, I think when we come to Bhakti especially, there's this kind of mindset where we have to kind of create a life that allows us to practice, where actually, I mean, it says in the Bhagavad Gita and the Vedas that doesn't necessarily, it's about having Bhakti in the lives we already have, instead of trying to like create this life in which, obviously that's important to do later down the line, is to live sattvically and make sure that we have an environment that is conducive to spiritual life. But I think especially when you first join, it can be like comparison comes up a lot, and you're around you're trying to make friends, you're trying to kind of, and the ego kind of gets involved, and it's like, okay, well, now I need to put myself in Krishna consciousness, rather have Krishna consciousness in our lives. So I think it's a beautiful realization, being able to say, you know, okay, this is what I've got, this is what I've been given, how do I bring what I'm learning from other devotees and, you know, being in the temple and association and reading and chanting into the life I have now. And it kind of takes the pressure off a lot. Especially for me, because I think when you have certain expectations for yourself that may be too high, then it can just be, you can just put it on other things. So when you find spiritual life, and it's like those high expectations go on that, instead of just bringing it in as like a beautiful part of the life we've been given.
Yeah.
And I was saying to you earlier, wasn't I? Maybe we could talk about how I think I was just mentioning we have the Krishna had his hand in our lives so much way before we even realized it. Like I was saying, maybe we could talk about how we kind of each came into Krishna consciousness or found Bhakti, because I think it's really inspiring to talk about how Krishna had kind of influenced us and kind of gave us a bit of a journey to find Krishna consciousness, but even before we even consciously realized that was what was happening. You know? So I think that's...
And it's such a solidifying cool feeling, actually, for us when we can look back and you realise Krishna was there the whole time.
Well, because where were you when you were in New Zealand or Australia?
Yes. Met the devotees in Australia on a farm. Yeah, only a couple of devotee families there. I know.
You know what I mean?
Well, they would always talk about in New Zealand and Australia, they would always say, well, you should go to Wales. It's the best place to practice if you're if you're a youngster. So, yeah, and I've been here ever since. I did want to go back originally, but then I spent, within about 8 weeks or so of being back in Wales, I was like, okay, well, everything that I'm looking for my whole life is available here. I don't need to travel really far away. Like, that's what, I really love about this place. It really is like a gold mine of like just opportunity, especially if you're, I don't know. It's a bit of a whirlwind journey back to you so far, and
Well,
pass the
what about you, Amrita? How did Krishna impact your life?
How did Krishna impact my life?
How did you come in? How did he impact your life to kind of guide you to
come to Krishna consciousness?
Consciousness, yeah.
I guess I had certain experiences that led me towards looking for deeper truth and spiritual truth, and I got very into like old like Vedic knowledge. I was very much into like I liked the connection with, you know, deities, and that was something I was felt quite connected to. And I started reading a book called Be Here Now by Ram Dass, and that really like his story very much inspired me. I was listening to him a lot. I was listening to lots of different philosophers, and I was very much into like old like Eastern Vedic kind of traditions and yoga, and I think I got into like meditation, and so I was kind of dabbling in things, and yeah, and then I found whenever I went to like Hindu temples, there wasn't really much practice going on. It felt very ritualistic. It felt like, you know, I'd go to different temples from like near where I lived, and there was like not much practice going on. So I ended up going to like Buddhist temples because I found that they seemed to practice things. You know, they seemed to practice something which felt I didn't fully connect with the philosophy, and I didn't fully connect with the kind of voidism aspect of it. Like I liked the connection with personalities, and I had like a connection with Ganesha at the time, so I was like praying a lot to him, and I just, yeah, so when I went to, but the problem is that like when you ever went to those temples, it just felt very like ritualistic. There wasn't much practice going on. So when I went to Buddhist temples, like there was a lot of meditation, there was a lot of and so when I went to this Buddhist temples, I went to Ulverston Buddhist temple. It's like a big Buddhist temple in Ulverston. And
where's that?
In Ulverston. I don't actually know.
Where is it?
I just got a train.
Ulverston.
Ulverston.
Ulverston. Just
like,
got a train. That's Amrita-radha.
I just
got a train. I was there.
So it's either up north. I think it's what's Tuesday?
Up north.
So up north somewhere.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Up north. Right.
But then, and I was explaining this to one of the Buddhists there, and he was really open-minded, and he was a bit of a traveler, and I was telling him like, you know, my dilemma, and he said to me, I believe like everyone has their path in life, and I believe that everyone has their journey. So, you know, he was telling me like, he was very kind. He gave me different things that I might be interested in. He recommended like Amma, which is like this hugging saint, and then he recommended someone else, I can't remember, and then he recommended for me to go see the Hare Krishnas. So I think that was like 2016. He introduced me to that, and then not long after I went to see Amma, who was like this hugging saint, and I didn't feel, and then I went to the Hare Krishnas first, and then I went to see Amma, and then I was very much in this split of like not sure still what my path was. When I first went to the temple, it felt like amazing, and yeah, but I there was a lot of resistance. I wasn't fully like ready to I was only young. I was like 16, and I didn't like the fact that there was boys on that side, women like girls on that side. Didn't like the religious aspect of it, but I loved the Maha Mantra. I thought it was like a beautiful, I never had that experience before. I'd been to like kirtan groups where everyone is singing different mantras, but the Maha Mantra was just so powerful, and you know, it kept me coming back, but I stayed very distant for some years, like coming in, you know, back and forth, and not fully sure like if that was my path. I was into like, you know, angels and all these other aspects, and I wanted it to be an experience of my heart, that this was the path that I was to follow, and not just something that someone was trying to convince me of. So I went through a little bit of a journey, and then Krishna guided me in a beautiful way to made me very clear, and it made me very clear after some time that, you know, this was my path, and there was like no question, and I was very grateful for that experience. So thank you.
I remember you saying actually once when you went to Hawaii, to the temple there, that did you go with the thought of going to the Hare Krishnas, or did you just go when they were there? You were it was a Hare now, wasn't it?
No. So basically, so when I went to Hawaii, weirdly enough, I really felt like there was a calling for me to go to Hawaii, and at the time I was like into raw food, and I was only eating like, so for some reason I thought like, you know, this calling was like for me to join like a fruitarian community or something. It's like they're into yoga and they're into like that's what I thought was the reason why I was kind of feeling called to go there, or being. And then I think I met Pajanya on the street one day, and some other devotees from the Manchester temple kept on telling me, there's a Hare Krishna temple in Hawaii, because I was saying, like, I'm going to Hawaii to, like, find myself, I need to go, I'm feeling like I'm being guided. And then they were just like, there's a Hare Krishna temple there. So I kept on being told that. So I thought I'm not going, because I wanted to try and, like, find myself outside of, I was going through things. So I was like, and then I went there and certain things happened. I was a little bit, like, I was thinking I was just going to sleep on the beaches and just, like, travel and hitchhike, and then it just became a little bit too... Anyway, I figured I'd find, like, if I went to the Hare Krishna temple, they might give me somewhere to stay and I might be able to do service there and stuff. So I went there for a few, I went there just with the intention of, like, not staying there, but just kind of like that just being one of my stops.
Just being a bit of a freeloader.
Yeah, just keep going. But yeah, when I went there, like, a lot of synchronous, a lot of things happened, and I ended up, like, meeting all these really exalted devotees who I didn't know were, like, really exalted devotees at the time, like Shruti Kirti Prabhu and Kusha Mataji and Govinda Dasi and, like, Narahari Prabhu, and they just all kind of saw me and just, like, and Yugala Rasa was, like, one of these, like, amazing devotees who just, like, picked me up and just tried to help me as much as they could and guided me in so many ways. And I just felt like these types of devotees had like such strong connections to Srila Prabhupada that I just kept on being told about Srila Prabhupada, and they kind of, whereas in the Manchester temple I would just kind of go to the Sunday feast and then run away before anyone could probe me too much, but there I was kind of like, I was there and they were getting me to ask questions. There was, like, one devotee who was just trying to, like, get me to ask loads of questions and just was trying to bring out of me, like, what were my doubts and why I was not sure yet. And it was really beautiful experience, and I just felt a lot of those devotees had very similar kind of, I don't know, like, hippie-ish backgrounds to me, where they were, like, they had, similar things, and they were able to really understand why, what my kind of, like, feelings were and thoughts and doubts, and I just felt very understood and very, like, convinced after some time. And there were certain things that happened just made me go, like, okay, whoever's been guiding me all this time has been, quite clearly Krishna, and it's been here. And it's like, yeah, I felt very sheltered and very, like, when I was introduced to, Srila Prabhupada and just constantly told about the stories of Srila Prabhupada, I was very, I felt very, like, sheltered by that, and it gave me that, like, initial attraction to Krishna consciousness that has never really, like, left me. I've always felt, inspired by that experience and very convinced by, that experience, that I do believe that, I was in many ways, like, guided through. So yeah.
It's such a powerful thing being, like, told about exalted devotees. Do you know what I mean? Like, when you're hearing the glorification of, I remember when I got really into Tribhuvanath Prabhu, because you just told me a couple of stories about him, and, like, just this thing of hearing devotees glorified by devotees. Do you know what I mean? You naturally just get really, like, drawn to and attached to, and you just kind of fall in love with them, and you've never met them. It's just a case of hearing, and I can imagine, this is why when Srila Prabhupada did come to the West, and you had devotees who, had started the practice but hadn't met him, maybe not had even met him, been practicing for 2 years, but hadn't met him, and but they just heard about him. Do you know what I mean? And this process of, like, glorifying a devotee, and it's very powerful.
I think when the kind of love that emanates from them when they tell the stories. Like, we have a beautiful friend, a Prabhupada disciple, who we visit, and she's the most beautiful, passionate, loving soul when she talks about Prabhupada, you know, like she's anyway, but when she talks about, we go and visit her, and she makes these she's such an amazing example of Bhakti, you know, like she's such a loving person, and like I've only met her a couple of times, and I've only met her a couple of times. Her name's Manjuali Devi Dasi, and her experiences have been out of this world, and when she tells us these stories, it's like she kind of completely lights up, and that she just emanates love, and it's really encapsulating. And you know, we could just listen. I could just sit in a beautiful little house and listen for hours. And she's just wonderful. She makes this amazing prasadam, and you know, welcomes us like old friends. And it's just, I think it's that. It's like you kind of learn to know Prabhupada through the people that have loved him so dearly. And that has, every time I leave her house, I feel so inspired. And I think that's the devotees that we meet, you know, inspiring us and, you know,
drawing you into their sphere of love.
Yeah.
It's such a powerful thing. Like, you can feel, that was like the thing that did convince me, was like, you know, these people wouldn't just be speaking about anybody. It's like the way that, you know, they spoke about Srila Prabhupada just felt so like contagious. Like you just felt like this person is not, you know, ordinary. He felt so close every time like someone would glorify, and it was magical for sure. You could feel it, see it in their eyes. There was just this like beautiful love. So yeah, it's amazing when you hear like people talk about Prabhupada in that way.
Yeah. And I guess none of us would be here without meeting someone that has fallen in love with Prabhupada and the devotees and Bhakti. From my experience, I think from most people experiences, we've met, you know, a devotee on the street, and there's some, you know, or had a book from them, and something has made us go, okay, this person is, I want to listen to this person. This person is special. For me, I think Krishna's had I said to my mum the other day, I think I was a pretty frustrating person for Krishna, because it's like every time there was something that was so blatantly obvious now, I'd turn my head in the opposite direction and not listen to it since the age of like 14, I think. I'm from Swansea. Govinda's is my home temple. It holds a very special place in my heart, and I was, you know, grew up in walking through town and having the devotees stop me on the street. I think Gopal gave me my first book when I was like 14, you know. It's very blurry, but I just remember being given a Bhagavatam, I think, which sat on my desk in my room for, well, I guess I didn't properly come to, you know, actually take to Krishna consciousness until I was 18. So yeah, you know, 4 or 5 years, I guess. And it's just little things. My mum brought home a leaflet when I was very young, because I struggled with my mental health, and she brought home a leaflet that obviously had been given to her on the street, and it was one of those really old retro T Krishna chanting, like they had the Hare Krishna has the beads on the bottom. It's like that black and white one. She brought that home, and she suggested that I try something, try this mantra and see if it worked. And I wasn't spiritual at all.
Chanting from your mum.
Yeah, she's been amazing. She really encouraged us to be open-minded from a very young age, but because we grew up Christian, going to church, so we kind of it wasn't a scary thing, religion or God, but growing up I became quite bitter, and, you know, being young, and it wasn't the idea of God, I had that age-old question, like, if God exists, why do these bad things happen in the world? But my mum was always so like open and kind and just encouraging, and so she brought her home, and she was like, she brought this leaf at home, and it was amazing. But I didn't do anything. Now I'm like, this is amazing. Didn't do anything about it. It's still on my mum's wall. To this day, it's just collecting dust, but it is there. And me and my husband went in there, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, she's got the leaflet." And I was like, "Yeah, she had that years ago." And yeah, so time went on. Govinda's was open as a cafe, so I had prasadam all the time because I went veggie quite young, around 16, and it was I was having delicious prasadam all the time. And then the wonderful Shyama Gauri and Chu Atma took over Govinda's as Yogaya. I was 18, I was in uni, and I kind of would bring my vegetarian and vegan friends here, and that was it really. I kind of was like, there was something in me that, because Shyam, they should definitely have her on this podcast because it would be amazing to have Shyam on here. Yeah. But there was something special about her, and she was just one of those personalities that you wanted to know, and you wanted to know why, how she's kind of gotten here, because she's from South Africa, and it's like, how did you end up in Swansea, in a little, she just emanated, this amazing energy that I wanted to know what was up, Yeah. And so I kind of would sit at my table with the Bhagavatam that I'd had for years and I don't know why. And I just kind of would hope. I was so shy. I was kind of hope that she'd come up and speak to me about it. And I just used to sit there and like try and read it, not knowing anything that the Bhagavatam was saying. And she came up and spoke to me and invited me to a Sunday program. And I think Kaylee did the kirtan. And instantly, as soon as I heard the kirtan, it was like a comfort blanket. It was like, okay, yeah, I'm home. This is special. I need to continue doing this in my life. Much like I'm sure lots of people who I speak to here, has that experience where it's like, no, this is, although we forget and life gets in the way, it always ends up coming back to like, no, this is what we need. This is what we need to have as a focus in our lives. And yeah, from then on, and the rest is history. Like
that's the undeniable feeling, isn't it? That like you've come home. Do you know what I mean? Especially when you hear the mantra, you're with the people, you're having your first taste of prasadam. It's so distinct, it's so comforting on a level that's so much deeper than anything you can perceive just through these little senses. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because none of us can probably imagine that this was going to become our life. Do you know what I mean?
No, absolutely not.
But like the feeling is just completely undeniable, and that's what's so amazing when now obviously helping and guiding others and just being with them as they have their own like amazing like realizations, and that I don't know. I wish I could just go back and experience just like one of those magical days. Do you know what I mean? Like, because I can still remember like the first taste of prasadam. It was like I don't know anything about prasadam, but it was just the best thing, and that was just leftovers from the day before.
Yeah.
But like Krishna consciousness, anything to do with Srila Prabhupada's movement, Lord Chaitanya's movement is just absolutely off the chain.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like it's just the most nuts thing. And like obviously like these really wow experiences are so prominent in the beginning. And like anyway, it's interesting. It's like always chasing that then.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but I was going to say it can become, as you said, like at the beginning it's so all-encompassing and intense, and then I was like, especially for me, it's like they can become so mundane, especially if you don't necessarily live in the temple or you're surrounded by it all the time. It can become just something else that it just kind of becomes a part of your life, and you kind of go to the programs, and it's kind of, and those experiences can become less obvious. And I think, especially for me now, my intention is like moving forward, 4-5 years in, and being like, okay, this is feeling really dry, because I think everyone gets this experience where it feels it can start feeling, comfortability. What's that phrase? Comfortability creates contempt or something. I think that's it. Familiarity, Yeah.
Still maybe comfortability.
Yeah,
also.
it's still comfortability. It's kind of like it becomes familiar, and then it's not such a big thing anymore, but it's like, just keep showing, like, I just seems like keep showing up, and each time Krishna will like show you just how amazing it is all over again,
Yeah.
And obviously reading and chanting is a given. It's like, it's like our everyday, it's like food for the soul, but like.
And as you were both saying, actually, you both mentioned about like your experience with these devotees that originally, myself included, that ignited that spark, that desire to serve in your heart. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of like when we are feeling a little bit like dried up and whatever, we just have to go back to the basic of like, you have to associate again with those that are like so strongly in that fire of love for Krishna, that it just rubs off on you. And none of us were looking for a religion as such, but for some reason this desire to serve was ignited in the heart.
Yeah.
And then so here we are. You're having nosebleed.
No.
Amrita-radha often gets nosebleed.
But yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know what time it is. We've kind of spoken for a while. We've gone a bit over time.
We're 36
Look at that.
minutes in, so...
We were so...
Any final words?
I think it was really nice to like kind of bring it back to what we read in the book, is that sometimes we are like, I think especially I fall into the trap of that, of being very trying to find some kind of equilibrium on a mental platform of like going through paths of like psychology, and these can all be very beneficial, but to remember that Bhakti is like very much a matter of the heart, and finding that sense of wholeness and that sense of deep fulfillment that we might be looking for in lots of different mediums of I don't know what you call it, like self-help and things,
wellness stuff.
Yeah, which has its of course benefits. It's like probably bringing you into the mode of goodness in many ways, but there's a to kind of Bhakti is very much like a matter of the heart and love, and coming into that space will give us a true fulfillment of the self and wholeness, because it's bringing us to our true nature. So that's what is kind of reminding me of like what we're talking about is like, ultimately Bhakti is bringing us back to the heart and bringing us back to that home that we would look for in many other avenues.
Yeah, like it's actually quite simple. Like I have a habit of doing that where it's very... I get obsessed with all of the things that I can do to make myself better and the wellness stuff. But yeah, it's actually, I guess, it's actually very simple. It's a matter of the heart. It's about learning what real love is by plugging into the supreme love, masculine and feminine, Radha and Krishna. Yeah, it's definitely something I have to tell myself, when life gets a bit intense and difficult, go back to the basics, That's it really. Yeah.
It's like going back to prayer and going back to like that relationship with Krishna, because he has so much more control than we do.
Yeah. Yeah. Amen.
Pali, any last
words?
Words of wisdom?
Realization?
I think I've maxed out on my words.
Wow. Thank you for everyone who's listened.
Yeah, thank you for sticking around for half an hour.
Yeah, and I pray that everyone can, find a way of coming closer to Krishna in their hearts and finding a deeper sense of meaning in their life, and pray that I do too. Thank you.
I do have one last thing to say.
Go for it.
Is, yes, something, just because it's something that I'm trying to think about and put into practice right now, is, I did say earlier, but it's just circling back. always actively seeking ways to like reignite that spark
Yeah.
of Bhakti in your heart, and you're really emphasizing you're going to get that from like associating with those who just absolutely just adore Krishna. Do you know what I mean? The more you can hear about Krishna, the more you can be with those that serve Krishna in a really unmotivated way.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And it's so easy to practice Bhakti when that fire in your heart is ignited. Do you know what I mean? Like that's a quote, if you remember Lord Chaitanya, everything is very easy, but if you forget Lord Chaitanya, even simple things become very hard.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And the reason why we're having a hard time is we've forgotten
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lord Chaitanya, do you know what I mean? Krishna. So anywho, that's my final piece.
I like that.
I think that's really nice as well, 'cause it's kind of reminded me that like the other night we were all together watching following Srila Prabhupada, and I just forget. I forget to do stuff like that because it was so enjoyable, and sometimes you know it was very very sweet. It was very like, you know, because Prabhupada did say if we don't enjoy Krishna consciousness, we're going to look for it elsewhere, and sometimes it can be like, okay, routine, got to get my rounds, got to da-da-da-da-da. But it's like, okay, what, you know, it has to be fun as well. We have to enjoy like our experience in Krishna consciousness, our rounds, like they're something that are very sweet and nourishing, and you know, sitting together as friends, as a family, and just watching and listening to the pastimes of Srila Prabhupada can be so like nourishing for the soul, and something that I definitely forget. So I was very grateful for that evening.
Yeah.
Jai.
Jai.
Thank you.
Srila Prabhupada ki
Jai. Thank you, everyone.
Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami